Yeah, ignore what I've just put in the stream chat there. I didn't actually press the go live button, so there you go. Okay, we've got some viewers. Got no viewers. So I guess what I'll talk about first is I'm Graham. I'm the creator of well, I wouldn't say I'm the creator of Rygar, but I'm the person who's porting Rygar to the Commodore Amiga. So I thought I'd kind of give you a run through, given that my wife's out tonight and my little boy's in bed. I thought I'd take the opportunity to kind of give you a run through what it's actually like for me to build one of the levels in Rygar. So I'll take you through what that actually looks like. I'll talk about as well as what I've got for a setup, in case it's useful to some people, which I'm sure it will. But yeah, it's we'll just crack on. So what I've got here, if I keep turning my head, I've got a laptop next to us, and I'm kind of reading the chat. So if I get any questions popping through, I'll be able to answer them pretty quickly. But I'm keep kind of turning my head to the right to see if there's any questions that have popped up. If the sound isn't okay, give me just let me know on the chat, and I'll be able to change that. And if you can't see the stream for whatever reason, give me just give me a nod as well. This is the first time I've ever done this. It won't be smooth by any stretch of the imagination, so it's just a rough stream that I thought I would do, given that my wife has gone out and I have the entire house to myself. So here we go. So the first things first, I'll talk about the setup that I have. So I do the development on Rygar pretty much using WinUAE. It's written in assembler, 68020 assembler, which is what the processor that the A1200 CD32 has inside of it. How I do that within WinUAE is basically just create a standard config for an A1200. But also what I have kind of a tool chain, what's called a tool chain setup, which has Vasm, which is the assembler. So you write the code, and then you use Vasm to actually assemble the code, which then runs the game on WinUAE. So most of what you'll kind of look at here, like this window, this is the game code. Like you can see here, this is the start of the actual main game code. We've got some kind of switch directives that I've set up here, which I'll talk about. And down the left hand side here, you've got all of the assembler files and all the sort of the data files, which I'll touch on very briefly. I should also note before I carry on, it's not just me that's doing Rygar. It's I wouldn't be able to do it without the help of about 4 or 5 people. In particular, who have we got? Got Kevin Saunders, Invent, who did all the tiles, who created the level maps. We've got DLFR Silver, I should say, who's basically extracted all the sprites from the arcade board, which is not really an easy task to actually do. We've got DJ Michune as well, which he's done an absolute amazing job of the sound in Rygar, which is just absolutely amazing what he's done. Real miracles. And we've got a couple of other people as well, Ross mainly, and who's helped massively, particularly with the disk loader routine and the compression routines. And there's probably other people that I forgot to actually mention, but there you go. I'm sure they'll come to us a bit later on. So I don't have any questions. It looks like I've got about eight viewers, going, so no questions at all, so I will crack on. Okay, so what you're seeing here is the main file of Rygar, and what I'll do is, this is Notepad++, and before I kind of get on to configuring the levels, I'm just going to explain a few things, what's actually going on. So this is the main file. If I assemble Rygar and just press Shift and F10 in Notepad++, and if I want to run the game, I can press Shift F11, and we should see the game actually pop up. And there you go. So there you go, I can test the game, and I've got the sound switched off at the minute just in case it kind of interrupted anything. So that kind of shows you. So basically the iteration of creating the game is basically me just I change things within Notepad++. I code the game, make changes, and then I test the changes simply by just doing that Shift F10, Shift F12. What I can also do as well, which is actually one of the main points, one of the main kind of saving graces of building a game like Rygar, is I can actually debug it as well. So if I press Shift F10, which assembles the game like I did before, but instead I press Shift F12, I can actually start to debug the game. Now this isn't the WinUAE debugger, this is actually Monam, which is what I used to use years upon years ago. So from there I can actually trace the game and do things and set breakpoints and things like that, and kind of if there's a problem with the game or I'm trying to debug something, that's typically how I do it. I totally do it to pretty much everything through Monam, which is good. So a couple of these switches I've got at the top here, which I'm going to kind of switch on and off. Whenever you're kind of debugging with Monam, you've got to kind of make sure that it doesn't close the system down, otherwise it shuts the debugger down. So I have to set that to 1 when I'm using Monam. But for this purpose, we'll set it to 0. The fast load is just a switch 0 and 1, which basically just says, don't load the music, don't load from floppy disk, load everything from the hard drive. Just makes the game run a lot quicker, or load a lot quicker when I'm testing it and debugging it. All you kind of cheaters are like this, disable enemy collision, which I actually need, because when I'm testing the game I basically have to have invincibility. So just to show you, set that on, and I can now run through enemies. So it's really that quick. If I need to make it, make a change, I just change those switches at the top of the file, and it basically the changes get made right there and then. Now, one other thing, if you take note of this debug text at the bottom here, I'm going to come on to that right now. So debug text enable, I just set this to 0 and set that to 0. And we had a fault there for some reason. I just need to look at that, why it's faulted. Yes, so let me just fix this real quick. This is something I've been working on just recently, so I'll just quickly fix this. Line 130, and we just need to set a comment on there. 493 as well. Just set a comment on there. And you can see there that Vasm hasn't complained about any errors when I've compiled that, so we should be able to run that. So now what you'll see is that at the bottom we kind of have all of there's kind of no debug text, so this is the game without any debug in it, and that's great. But the problem is that what I need is, when I'm actually code in the game is I need to be able to see, and I need to see like lots of things that's going on within the game, so parts of memory, things like that. So what I've done is created this little debug text enable switch, which when I run it kind of allows me to see into parts of the game, or see into parts of memory within the game. So if I press 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the keyboard, I can get kind of updates of what's, trying to show you a good one. Here we go, this is a good one. So yeah, you can see map position X is updating when I'm moving Rygar left and right. So that's the point of the debug text anyway. So how do I go about creating the levels? Well, that's pretty straightforward. So a bit further down here, we've got this start round, and what we can do is do a debug round as well. So if I want to debug kind of round 7, which is what I was recently working on, I'll just enable round 7 there. And then kind of jump to round 7, and as you can see, this is round 7 of the game, and I can see what's going on and do different types of stuff. Okay, so if I want to make changes to round 7, what I'll do is on the right hand side here, to bring up round 7's configuration. So this is each round has kind of one of these files which determines what's happening on the level, how many enemies can appear, which types of enemies can appear, the speed of the enemies, you know, where they appear, all of that sort of stuff, what the background looks like, the start of the map, if there's a waterfall, all of that kind of is kind of defined in here. So I'm just going to kind of scroll down and just give you an insight into what this looks like. So if you remember, I'll just quickly bring up round 7 just to show you what it actually looks like real quick again. Just to give you what it looks like. So you kind of see it starts off with, we've got this fireball here, and we've got these griffins at the top which are floating about. And we've got 2 fireballs there, we've got 1 fireball. Oh, and then I went and dropped down the bottom there, so I'll have to start again. My apologies, still not good at the game. So kind of just jumping across here, and you've got these obstacles, so those are configured in the map as well, so I'll show you how those are configured. You've got a couple of fireballs again, and then you've got these crabs as well, so I'll just kind of set one of these off actually, if I can. There you go. And these come running after you. These are the monkeys which appear in the map as well. And there you go, we've got the little tribesman. That's the end of the round there. So each round is typically the same length, about 176 blocks in length, and I'll show you why that's quite important. But to kind of start off with, what I'll do is I'll just come down here. This block in the file here just determines where the obstacles are. Now, funnily enough, round 7 doesn't actually have any obstacles, but I will I will show you the other rounds that does have the obstacles. Round 7 does have those stones though, so if you know the little tombstones that kind of pop up, it's actually got 3 of those, and with each round I said is 176 blocks long. So what happens is that there's 3 types of stones. There's a stone where it's just the stone is actually there, just in the map, and it can be destroyed and the player will get like an item. Or there's a stone where Rygar will kind of walk over it, and there's a stone that's actually hidden in the game, and Rygar has to actually jump at the point where the stone is, and the stone will actually rise from the ground. So we've got 2 items here, item stones, and we've got a walk stone as well. And this is just where the position is. So we've got X and Y position in the map. So this stone here, the item stone, falls at position 76. We've got another one at 78, and then we've got another one typically which is 112. And then what happens is when Rygar actually destroys a stone, it reveals like an item. So we've got, these are the different items here that are revealed when a stone's destroyed. So this is the star item. Random just means that anything would be shown. And then you've got the juicy bits of the actual round. So these are where the enemies actually appear. So this is just saying, right, if the crab enemies are enabled, make one appear at that's saying pixel offset 720 hex, and inject a crab, make a crab appear, and the same there but for 734 pixel offset. And what we've got here is the fireballs as well. So make a fireball appear at 230 hex. And what this is saying here, this is actually called like a sprite parameter, which I've included in the game. This is actually the delay. So wait 50 hex frames before the fireball will actually spit up and come back down. And again, we've got another fireball there, and the same fireball here. So you know we had 2 fireballs that spit up at the same time, or spit up at the same position. Sorry. This is the delay parameter here for that. So one fireball kind of just shoots up as quickly as possible, and the same fireball at the same position fires up 25 frames afterwards. We've got the similar sort of things here, fireballs. And then what we have is we have a tribesman. So remember right at the end of the level, we had kind of that tribesman kind of all appeared, and then they kind of jump over each other. That's what causes this bit here causes the tribesman to actually appear. And the tribesmen, if you've played Rygar before previously, they've got like different types of attacks. They've like got different formations. One formation is where they kind of run on from round 2, and they kind of like jump on each other's back and they stack up, and they kind of jump towards Rygar. And then you see the one on round 7 where what they do is they kind of jump on each other's back and then fire at Rygar. And what this does is this just simply tells the tribesman what type of formation. So I've got a formation left attack there, and the other formation type configured as formation stack attack. And next you'll notice that there's nothing to do with monkeys here. So the round does have griffins and monkeys, but there was nothing configured there. The reason for that is that these are just simply one-off enemies. They just appear kind of once in the round. So these are just kind of placed there, and you know they don't kind of respawn. These ones here, this bit of configuration here tells the game that whenever Rygar's in a segment of the round, keep respawning enemies at a particular rate. So I'll just discuss this just slightly. So remember I said the game, each round has like 176 blocks in length, so the round length is 176. So what this is saying is that for 120 blocks, we want griffins to appear. So that's what that is saying there. And then for another 30 blocks, we're saying we want griffins and the monkeys to appear. And then for the remaining 26 blocks, we just want the griffins to keep appearing. Okay. And I think we have, no, that's fine actually. So we've got enemy state 0, enemy state 1. Now what happens is, if we want to kind of, in these first 120 blocks, we only want to have three griffins appearing at any one time for the difficulty, but then kind of have like a segment of the game, like the next 30 blocks have like 6 or 10 griffins appearing, or like 20 monkeys appearing. This is what these enemy states do. So enemy state 0, enemy state 1, so I can configure those, which is down here. So enemy state 0, this tells the game that, okay, so for each of these sprite types, so we've got a lava man there, need a beer. So, so for this sprite type lava man, there's going to be 0 of them. So there's the maximum amount of lava man sprites that can appear in this segment is 0, and that, you'll see that's pretty much set all down there. But you'll notice here that sprite griffin, that's actually set to 3, and we've got another element here which says enemy respawn frames. That means it can spawn every 32 frames. Okay, so what we'll see is that when Rygar moves through this first 120 blocks, we'll see 3 griffins, and that's it. If we kill a griffin, then another one will respawn, and then for the remaining 30 blocks, or the next 30 blocks, we'll have 6 monkeys appear. And what we can do, we'll just verify what we're seeing in the game by just running that. So remember we said 3 griffins, so what we've got 3 griffins at the top, so only ever 3, and probably see another one appear. There's a third one, and we can shoot those fireballs. Still only 3 griffins, and those locations of the stones, if you recall, the first 2 items were stars, which I'll change shortly. And then we're getting past those kind of 120 blocks, and then we next into this next 30 blocks where the monkeys appear, and they just keep respawning, and there's those tribesmen. That's it. So we can change the game simply by modifying these parameters here. So if I wanted to, I could say, right, I want to have 4 griffins appear and 8 monkeys appear, and I want the monkeys to appear much faster. So if we change the monkeys to have a maximum of 8 sprites, and we want the kind of the respawn rate to appear every 16 frames, that means that they will appear very, very quickly. And we've just simply upped the number of griffins to increase the difficulty there to 4. So hopefully we'll see, providing there's no bugs in the game, and there might be, because there always is, we should see those changes made when we run the game. With a bit of luck, is there 4 griffins? Yeah, it looks like there's 4 griffins. Yes, there is. And there you go. And let's try those monkeys. Yeah, you see the monkeys appearing much faster now. That's basically what we do to configure rounds within the game. Just lastly, on the which I know everybody likes, the actual gradients in the background. Each round has a gradient, and if you kind of understand the copper and what it does, the copper kind of can display different colors in different color registers. All this is saying is that a color at line number 40 in color register 1 display this RGB value, and at line 42 and 44 all the way down. So what we're seeing there is just like a gradient sky. So that's what I've put in there. So a gradient sky, very blue all the way down. That's what we say. This is what configures the gradients within the game. So what I'll do is I'll just try. Well, let's just have a look at another round and just see if we can make a few further changes to it, and that really should give you an idea. So we'll take a look at round 8. So the first thing to do, start round number 8, and we just need to configure that one. So round 8 I've actually done. I've put that in. So hopefully it should all work. And we can. What I'll do, I'll probably try changing one of these obstacles here. And I do beg your pardon. I'll need to turn off the invincibility to show you how good I am at this game. So just make sure that I can lose a life. I'll turn the music on as well, just to kind of. I've put it. The variables for the music, here they are. So enable sound effects, and music. Yeah, there is still some bugs left in the game, particularly when the Rygar loses a life and it doesn't reinitialize the game properly. And there is still a few bugs left, which are quite easy to fix, but defeat this giant demon guy. So, a couple of changes that we can make for round 8. Perhaps we want to make the giant demon appear right up front in the game. So perhaps we'll bring him near to where these two kind of formations are. Tribesman formations, I should say. We'll try that, and I've not tested this, so you know it might crash. It may not. So set that to 150. So the reason I've set it to 150 is because at the start of this round there's a a tribesman formation set at 100, and there's a tribesman formation set at 1F0. So I'm just kind of going to put move the giant demon, which is right at the end of the level, right at the start of the level. So I'm just setting them to 150, and we'll see what he does. Hopefully he'll appear. There he is. He killed us though. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to show you that I can actually beat him. So it's really just about configuring the level and building up this configuration here. I have thought about creating a level editor for Rygar, which would be quite straightforward to do, and it's still something I might do when I've finished the game. I'm just kind of concerned that it might kind of spawn lots of Rygar versions, or Rygar kind of sequels, if you know what I mean. So yeah. So what other changes can we make in this? So I'm just going to show you these obstacles. So the obstacles which wasn't in round 7 we do have here. So obstacles round 8. I'm just going to show you where these are and how these are configured, and hopefully I'll be able to show you some of the sprites in the game as well, and that's quite insightful. So block 32. So what we've got is at blocks 32 and 33, these two obstacles are actually appearing, and Rygar's standing on them now. And I'm just going to show you what these actually relate to. So at X position 32 and X position 33, we've got, and at Y position 7 and Y position 5, we have these tile objects here, which relate to kind of the obstacles that appear in the game. Those kind of brown obstacles, I should say. So I'm just going to switch on what the sprites actually look like, if I can work out OBS. And I think it is this one, that's right. So, yeah. So what? Hopefully you can see this. These are the tile obstacles here, which are then injected into the game. So this first one here is tile object 1, the next one along is tile object 2, tile object 3, tile object 4, and then I think it's tile object 9 and 10, which if we look back on the game, if I just hide that, if we look back in the configuration, yeah, so this is the 416 by 32 obstacles which make up the first sprite, and this is the second sprite, and that's the position in the game that it appears at. Yeah, and here's the stones. One thing I didn't mention about the stones previously was the jump stone. So there it's there configured, just at X position 90, and Rygar has to actually go under that block and make a jump before the stone will appear. So what I'm actually going to do in the game is I'm going to actually inject a lot more of those into the game over and above the arcade. And if certain stones are kind of released, or if Rygar, makes those stones appear, I'm going to kind of add extra bonuses and things like that over and above the arcade, which should be quite good, I think. what else have we got? This is just the items in the round. So we've got this is the order that they will appear, and the random one will just make any item appear if it's there. And here's those enemy states again. And yeah, and there you go. That's the sunset background that we see. So what I'm just going to finish off with is just what the sprites look like in the game, and I'll take any questions if anybody's got any. I can't see any questions that have appeared. I don't know whether the chat's working or not. I'm not sure. So yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of switch on the sprites again, and what I'll do is I'll actually show you the Rygar maps as well, just pretty insightful. So just another quick look at these. So all of these sprites are actually loaded into the Amiga's memory when the game loads, so it keeps all of these sprites in RAM. So here you've got all the Rygar sprites, and then you've got the drone sprites, and the rider, the rhino. You've got the little squirrels, the cave bats, the monkey sprites, this is the worm sprites, this is the fish sprites, which these sprites are not actually implemented in the game yet, because I think they only make an appearance like at round 21 or 22 or something ridiculous like that. Yeah. Kind of wondering, did I sort of like not allow the chat or something? Ah, I pressed the wrong. Right, now I can see the chat. How many lines of code in the game? The last time I checked, there's around about 22,000 lines of code of actual assembler in the game. I can probably find that number out very, very quickly, actually. Yeah. Question from George: how far you're on the final release of the game? I've given myself till October to release the game, October 31st. There's sort of a reason behind that, is that I want to kind of start a new project, because October 31st is when I actually started Bombjack Beer Edition, which I completed in roughly 6 months. But I'm aiming to get the game released for the 31st of July, which would be a whole calendar year for the development of Rygar. So I'm kind of striving for the 31st of July. Okay, another question from George. The graphics were designed manually or were exported from the official game? They were exported from the arcade ROMs from the game by DLFR Silver, guy called Dennis. Yeah, he exported them all, and kind of show you what they came out like. So yeah, I'll just show you all the sprites in the game. So all of these get loaded right at the very start, and you've got all of these sprites here. These are the sprites that get shown when the enemies are killed. So from Platt, did you try to assemble this on a real Amiga? How long would it take? I haven't tried to assemble it on a real Amiga. I used to use DevPack back in the day. I've never tried to assemble it. There's no reason why it wouldn't assemble on a real Amiga. I don't know, I might try it one day. I think the difference is that if I've shown there that it takes kind of like 1 second to 1 second to kind of assemble the game in VASM on modern computers today. It would take like probably at least 5 minutes to assemble the game on the Amiga. Could you post a quick start guide for the cross compiler toolchain somewhere? Yes, I could. I did a YouTube video of actually that. If you do a search for the it's in my videos somewhere in my channel. Do a search for creating a tool chain. I've kind of done a video of doing it. Van Dameska, yes, he's in my neck of the woods. I know that. Kung Fu Master is a new project. Kung Fu Master is actually a project already. There's a guy on the AAB. I think he's doing it in Blitz Basic. Somebody's already there before us. So yeah. And lastly, with the sprites, you see the giant demon here, and kind of that's the big boss sprites there, which I've put into the game. He isn't configured into the game yet, but he soon will be. So I'll just show the see if I can find the yes, I'll just talk briefly about this as well. The OCS Amigas were able to display 8 sprites, 8 hardware sprites I should say, and basically if you wanted 8 4 color sprites, and basically it wasn't a lot. With the AGA Amigas, they kind of improved it a little bit. I say a little bit, quite a bit, in that you still got 8 sprites, but you can have them either 16 pixels in length, or 32 pixels in length, or 64 pixels in length, and you can also have them as 16 colors. So kind of what you're seeing here is the hardware sprites that I use in the game, which are duplicates of some of the sprites that I have already loaded. So that in effect the game loads 2 sets of sprites. Some of them are identical. One set of sprites which are the main sprites that are used for bobs, typical blitter objects, and the other sprites are used for the hardware sprites. And the hardware sprites are these ones here. So there's only some that actually appear, which is the rhinos and these kind of lava monster guys and the big rhinos here. And you can actually tell the difference in the game which ones are hardware sprites and which ones are not hardware sprites, because if they're hardware sprites in the game, you'll actually see the sprite go in front of Rygar instead of behind him. So look out for that if you do actually play the game. From George, are there going to be difficulty levels to choose from? The only thing that I'm going to be doing is putting in a password system, which every 4 levels, if the player reaches every 4th round and defeats that giant demon, he'll be given a passcode to start at round 5 or round 9 or round 13. Apart from that, it will just be one difficulty as it was per the arcade. So yeah, you'll have to. It's a pretty brutal game to play as it was in the arcade. And I'll just see if I've got the tiles as well, just to show you the tiles. I'm pretty sure I have. Oh yeah, here we go. So Dennis DLFR Silver was able to extract the tiles in the game, and this is kind of what they look like. This is the color cycling of the waterfalls, which is here, and got some other ones. Yeah. What I can also show as well is if I just configure this up, is tile D, which, if you bear with me just 1 minute. I'll just add tile D in. If I can find it. Oh, I can't find it for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, I can't actually show you what the tiles actually look like in the game for the minute, but we'll have to. Okay. Let's just try that again. Nope, it ain't gonna work. My apologies. I was trying to show you the tile maps in the game, but it simply won't, for some reason, won't display properly. Not to worry. So there you go. That's a quick run through of what the kind of the game looks like. I can, if anybody's got any questions, I can kind of run through what the source code looks like or anything like that. Fire away. Other than that, it's been going around about an hour, and I don't want to take up any more of your Saturday night. That's what we've got. Password system's a great idea. Yeah, I think it is as well, Sammy. George, sorry if you said that before, but is the game to be ACS only or AGA only, or are there going to be two versions? There's going to be one version only, that's AGA. And that is simply because the game it uses kind of the hardware sprites that are only in the AGA chipset. And the other reason, which is the core reason, is that the game needs the memory. It needs the 2 meg of chip RAM to actually run. So the game I'm hoping the game will be released on one floppy disk, with all 27 rounds in, the whole lot. So that would be great if I can just keep it on one floppy disk for the 31st of July. But it will be AGA only. I may follow it up with a CD32 release with some different music. I'm quite into kind of me retro wave music, so I may include some of that on the game. for the CD32, which I'm quite keen on. If I'm being honest, but I don't have a lot of experience development for the CD32. I might give Richard Lowenstein a call, because he seems to know his stuff for the CD32 with his Reshoot R game that he did, which is really good. Okay, so that's it, guys. Really appreciate everybody who's tuned in to check it out. I may do another stream showing something interesting in the game. If you want to give me some ideas, I guess you can put them in the comments, or catch me on the EAB. And yeah, just let me know if you've enjoyed it. I'll do some more streams. Not typically on a Saturday night, but maybe a Thursday night, or a Wednesday night, and yeah, we'll make it happen. Okay, guys, that's it, and thanks for joining. I've got to figure out how to switch this thing off now through the streaming, so I'm sure I'll work it out. Reminds me of a scene of Red Dwarf. Good night, everybody.